Equity markets are expected to remain choppy on Thursday as investors digest a second consecutive interest rate hike by the US Federal Reserve. Back home in India, the Reserve Bank of India had increased the repo rate last week. However, rising interest rates along with elevated raw material cost pose a challenge to the building materials sector, which includes ceramics, paints, pipes, cement, and steel. Related companies felt the pain of mounting input costs in the fourth quarter of FY22, and analysts expect subdued demand in the coming months due to higher raw material prices and rising borrowing costs.
The building materials space has been facing multiple headwinds recently in terms of rising interest costs, inflationary pressures, price hikes, etc. The building materials space has seen margin pressures due to rise in energy costs, freight cost, and rise in key raw material inputs during quarter 4 of FY22. Although the demand environment remained healthy, led by government-led infrastructure spending and urban housing, while there was a slackness seen in demand from Tier 3 cities and below and rural segments. We expect margin pressures to continue in H1 of FY23 as energy costs remain elevated and there is a usage of high-cost raw material inventory. The building materials space overall should see an improvement in margins in H2 of FY23 as energy costs and raw material inputs prices recede.
Analysts have downgraded related sectors and lowered earnings estimates to factor in near-term challenges. Nirmal Bang, for instance, has cut its FY23 and FY24 EBITDA estimates for the cement sector due to aggressive capacity expansion plans by multiple players, a prolonged cost inflation environment, lack of pricing power given an elevated competition and declining demand drivers. Meanwhile, ICICI Securities is cautious on the paints sector due to similar reasons. As regards steel and ceramics sectors, Anil Rego of Right Horizons PMS believes near-term paint clouds sector outlook.
Coking coal prices impacting the industry drastically and the production cost is impacted, affecting steel companies' margins. Steel companies are expected to be under pressure on account of hike in export duty by the government, which has led to broad derating in steel outlook. In the short term, the outlook is weak. On the ceramic sector, margins will be under pressure for ceramic companies on account of soaring gas prices levels. However, going forward, the industry is expected to present healthy demand revival.
That said, analysts don't see any significant impact on real estate demand or construction activity in the long term.
The other trend that we're seeing is that the higher interest rates can lead to postponement of the decision, but not for the primary house, more in terms of second house or vacation properties, things like that. Commercial construction again may not be impacted because they respond more to the demand for jobs and other commercial activity in those respective areas. Many investors do look at real estate investments as a safe haven, and that will keep the demand buoyant for some more time. There has been a recovery in this sector over the last few quarters, and we feel that the global factors may not necessarily dampen this to a large extent.
Analysts suggest investors avoid taking fresh positions in related counters for the time being. However, a robust long-term view, given strong real estate sector bookings, the government's focus on infrastructure creation, easing commodity prices from the second half of FY23, and lower valuations make them attractive from a 2 to 3 year perspective. Brokerages are bullish on Ultratech Cement, Asian Paints, Kajaria Ceramics, Century Plywood, Greenply Industries, and APL Apollo Tubes.
If you like this video, share it and subscribe to Business Standard. For more news, views and insights, log on to www.business-standard.com. Do also follow us on YouTube, Twitter, Facebook, Instagram, Telegram and LinkedIn.
तुम इतना डर गए?
अब क्या किया?
शेयर्स में ट्रेडिंग।
तुम्हें 5 पैसा नहीं पता?
ओए, अब तो सबको पता है।
5 पैसा पर मिलते हैं रिसर्च टूल्स, पोर्टफोलियो एनालिटिक्स और इन्वेस्टमेंट आइडियाज भी। डाउनलोड 5 पैसा नाउ।
अब तो सबको पता है, investing made easy and rewarding with 5paisa. Investments in securities market are subject to market risks. Read all the related documents carefully before investing.